Hey, Tony, I'm so happy you're here today. You're going to talk to us about some plasma pure. But first, who is Tony Albers? Can you please tell me what you do at US Air Conditioning?
Hi, sure. Hi, Corinne. Uh, at US Air Conditioning, I am the product manager for indoor air quality. So I do zoning, I do thermostats, and I do the ionizers here at US Air.
Awesome. So today you're here to talk to us about a super cool product, Plasma Pure. And Plasma Pure is all about ions. But let me ask you, what do ions do?
Okay. Ions, think of ions as nature's little air scrubbers. Basically, what ions do in an air conditioning system is they take the particles that are floating around in the air, they clump them together bigger so they can be picked up by the air conditioning unit's filters. So that's the first thing they do is agglomerating, clumping together so the filter can pick it up. The second thing they do is they continually clump these together. And so eventually what doesn't get picked up by the filter just drops out of the breathing zone. And that's the big thing. We want to clear their air. Either it drop it out of the breathing zone or have the HVAC unit's filter pick it up.
Nice. So is iron like magic? How can you prove that the ions naturally occur in nature?
Mhm. Well, I put together some slides for you. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. So what I did is I went out and bought an ion meter, so I could meter and see what's actually coming out of an air conditioning system, see what's actually in nature, because everyone says ions occur in nature, you need to bring them into your space. The spaces don't have enough ions. We have these sealed buildings, make it like nature. It's like, well, how much is actually out in nature? How much do we need to add to buildings? I went ahead and bought an ion meter and took it out to the top of a mountain. I wanted to know, they say mountain has clean air. I went to the very top of the mountain. I hiked this little ion meter in a backpack, got to the very top of the mountain, and here's what I found. I put the meter on the times 10 scale. I'll go ahead and do pointer option. I'll do laser pointer. I put it on the times 10 scale down here. And so when you're reading these numbers, it's actually 2,480 is what you're reading right here. And sure enough, they're 2,480 at the very, very top of the mountain. And that air was crisp. The air was clean. It was nice. But Corinne, people don't live on the top of the mountains. I mean, I look at all this literature and they keep on showing these mountains, how clean the air is, but no one lives on top of a 10,000 foot mountain. So I took the ion meter down a little bit lower and I went into the forest. And so what I did was, there it is, went into the forest with this ion meter, and the forest smelled beautiful. I mean, it smells like pine. It was gorgeous. And again, I was getting, this is on the times 10 meter, 1,580 ions. And that's a lot of ions out there in the forest. It smelled great. It was beautiful, but not everyone can live in a forest. So I went ahead and took the ion meter out to the ocean, out to the beach. I went out on this rock levee. So you got to understand, ions are produced by the sun's energy crashing into the atmosphere. That's how you get them on the top of the mountains. That's how you get them in force. At the ocean, ions are being produced by the waves crashing together. They're making ions. And walked out on this jetty with the waves as high as I can go and found out the ions were 1,200 out there. So there are a lot of ions naturally occurring out in nature, and that's great. But again, not everyone can live at the ocean. We'd all like to live at the beach, but we can't, where it's nice and clean and smells good. A lot of us have to live in the cities. So I took the ion meter and measured it in the city. And sure enough, it wasn't that good in the city. It just wasn't coming out that
Wow.
good. You can see about 500 ions. That's about it. It just was terrible. And the reason there's not as many ions isn't because the sun isn't as strong. It's because the ions are agglomerating. They're clumping together as they're coming down through the atmosphere, and they're grabbing onto the dust particles, the smog particles, anything that's in the air. So what actually makes it down into the city is what's left. Maybe about 500 is all we're getting. That's right there in state of industry. So yes, they occur in nature. Yes, they work in nature to clean the air. But this is what's missing inside of a house, inside of a building. You don't have these natural forces creating ions. So inside of a house or inside of a building, you can see at work here, I'm getting about 40. That's my office vent
Wow.
running inside my office, about 40. I went ahead and put on a plasma pure, turned it on in the rooftop unit up there. And sure enough, this baby's working. It's putting out 16,170 ions. My air is clean now inside this office building, really clean.
Oh my God, is it 16,170? Wow, this is a lot of ions coming out of that vent, Tony. That's crazy. But one question I always get from our customer and is, does plasma pure add any negative byproducts like ozone?
Yeah, that's the big thing. That's a lot of ions. You're thinking, oh my gosh, is there any side effects to having that many ions? There's no side effects. Ions are perfectly good for you. But as far as the ozone production, that's something you have to watch out for when you're shopping around for different manufacturers. I thought the same thing. So besides buying an ion meter to test, I bought this ozone meter. I wanted to buy this O3 meter to see specifically how much ozone was being produced by the product. Now, the EPA has a safety rating that says 50 parts per billion, which on this meter over here would be 0.05, is the maximum, 50 parts per billion. Turned on the meter, turned on the ion generator over here, and I'm not getting anything out of it. I mean, this thing's been running for hours on a desk right next to the meter, and I can't get any ozone production out of it. So yes, we're putting out a lot of ions, and no, we're not putting out any ozone. So I'm very happy about that. No harmful byproducts.
Okay, well, that's very good. So you have proven that plasma air can add lots of ions into a room. But since you cannot see the fine particles floating in the
Mm.
air, how do you know it's actually working?
Yeah, I thought the same thing too. Now, when you talk about the size of the particles, let's take a look at, say, the coronavirus down here. Coronavirus is a very, very small particle, especially when here's beach sand way up there, human hair. So when we're looking at the size of a small particle, I wanted to make some type of particle box that I could demonstrate that the ions are actually dropping the particles out. So the closest thing I can get to the coronavirus down here was smoke. So I went ahead and made a smoke box. I built this smoke box, put a pump on it, put the ionizer inside and didn't turn it on yet. I got the cigar and I pumped the cigar so it was completely full of smoke inside this box. I couldn't even see my hand waving on the other side. Once I got the smoke completely filled inside the box, turned on the ionizer. And within 1 minute, Corinne, the smoke dropped out of the airstream, out of the breathing zone onto the bottom of the box. It didn't make the smoke disappear. The smoke, look at the very bottom panel on that box. It's filthy. All it
Wow.
did was drop all the particles out of the breathing zone, made them so heavy they can't stay aloft anymore. And it's in the very bottom of the box. So yeah, it absolutely, that was a demo. I had to see it to believe it. I actually had to see the particles drop out.
Wow, that's a very cool demo that you did that, Tony. This is great. Actually, I can see how dirty it is. I'm like, whoa, this is real stuff. So you can see you prove that we can remove the small particle from the breathing zone. But what about the real world? This is just a demo. You did that in your office, but what about the real world?
hmm Yeah, it's one thing to have laboratory results. It's one thing to have a demo box, but we need to prove it actually works in a true office or home environment. And I can't fill our office building full of smoke like this. So what I did is I went ahead and we change our filters here on my rooftop unit every 6 months. So after 6 months, this is what my filter looks like here. And it's pretty common, 6 months of running. That's the filter loading that is typical. Turned on the plasma pure and we checked it on a calendar. After 30 days, we went up and checked the filter again. The filter with the plasma pure running is actually dirtier in 30 days than after 6 months. That's how much agglomeration and clumping together the fine small dust particles are doing, bringing it right back up to the HVAC unit. So I
Wow.
wanted to do something without filling our office full of smoke.
Yeah, I'm,
And
I'm sure that John and John are happy about that. I don't think they would be happy to have smoke everywhere, right?
right, no, I couldn't do that without, plus the sprinklers would go off. That's not good.
So this is great because it's a real life experience and it's in our office, so
Mhm.
no better place to actually prove it. But I
Right.
have one last question for you, Tony, a very important question. And that question is, will ions kill the coronavirus?
Yeah, we get that a lot. It's in the news every day. You can't turn on the news without, the coronavirus and everything that's going on. So what I did is I put together this slide. So you can't say the ions will kill a coronavirus because coronavirus isn't alive. You can't kill something that's not living. What we can say is it will deactivate the virus. It will neutralize the virus. It will do those things, but you can't kill something that's not alive. So when your customers are talking about this, your customers have to be careful about the terminology there. So here's what happens is the ions will go out into the airstream. They'll start agglomerating, they'll start clumping together everything that they can possibly attach to. When they find a coronavirus, what they do is they attach to the protein spikes right here. Take a look at that protein spike, and you keep the fan running. The ions are continuously putting pressure on the coronavirus, dust, dirt. Eventually, it breaks down this protein spike, and the protein spike goes through the envelope here, and it ruptures the envelope. Once you rupture the virus's envelope, it's neutralized, it's deactivated, it's dust, and it just gets picked up and brought back. The amount of time it takes to do this, remember, keep your fan running because you want to constantly have the ions coming out. Depends on whose laboratory results you look at. Now, I've been reading lab results over and over again. I can find labs that say, well, within 10 minutes, the ions can neutralize the virus. Then I've been seeing people with real world office buildings and applications, 45 minutes to defeat a virus. They can definitely defeat the virus. It's just a matter of how good is your ventilation system? How good is your airflow? How much air are you bringing into the system, and how many ions are you adding to the system? I know we put a lot of ions in, and you want good ions and good ventilation and good airflow. And yes, you can actually neutralize and deactivate the virus.
Wow. Okay. So what I'm hearing, Tony, is basically everyone needs Plasma Pure in their business and in their house, right?
Yep, you got it. And run the fan all the time, guys. You got it.
Okay. Yeah, that's very important. So, Tony, thank you so much for your time today. I learned a lot. I'm sure customers learned a lot. And I wanted to ask you, are you going to be back to talk to us about more indoor air quality products?
Absolutely. Invite me back. I'll be happy to do zoning. I'll be happy to do thermostats. Have me back. I'm happy to help you guys out always.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tony. Really, really appreciate your time and your expertise.
Thanks, Corinne. Appreciate it.
Bye.